Welcome to the reality check. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are, June 5th, 2018. Yes, we are live as always. Let me begin the show by saying that it's not just another Tuesday. And many stories to go over today, let me tell you. But, as we know, it's 500 days since Trump's been elected, and more than $1 billion in funding allocated to combat the opioid crisis, amongst other great accomplishments, things that the media won't share with you. We here at the Reality Check share with you and let you know about them. Now, let's move on to our next story. It wasn't actually a planned topic I had to talk about today. Not at all. I have many things we're going to talk about today. The IG report, we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about leaks, of course. Many leaks, the leaks of the government, the Mueller report. We'll talk about Californian water. We'll talk about the FAA and Obama. We'll talk about Planned Parenthood. And of course, we talk about California and Jerry Brown. We're going to talk about the Bill de Blasio, Mr. Elite New York. Yes. We'll talk about Valerie Jarrett, CNN, just a bunch of other things. I don't even know if we can fit it all in 1 hour. But, of course, I don't know if I mentioned, but I'll mention again, if not, UFC 225 preview, because UFC is this weekend, and we know we're big on that here. We'll break that all down. But the first story of the day, just a tricky subject and stuff, but Luke Heimlich. So this guy was an OSU, Oregon State. He was a pitcher, and the baseball draft is going on, so they're going to see if this kid can get drafted. Now, nobody really knew about this guy. I mean, he was a pretty good pitcher in college. Nobody knew much about him until it came out that he was a child molester. So that came out, it was probably about a year ago, I think. Came out that this kid, he left the World Series, the College World Series, actually. He was 11-1, and he withdrew from the team before the Super Regional, I guess, not really, against Vanderbilt last June. So he wasn't with them when the Oregon State Beavers went to the College World Series, and he just said he didn't want to be a distraction to the team in the wake of reports about him being a child molester. So, the way it sounds is he was 13, between age 13 and 15. He molested a girl that was, obviously between the ages of 4 and 6 at the time. And that's pretty much all that was known about him. And the reason why it came out, because it was actually sealed, was that Luke Heimlich had forgotten to register as a sex offender. So that's how a newspaper came out and got all this information, Freedom of Information, and published all this stuff about Luke. So, you're, wow, what a piece of junk this kid is. And then, you had the thought of, well, he was 15 at the time, not good ever, but, is this going to be the end of his life or what, or is there a way, he can make it back and be a decent human being? Well, people let him in society. Well, the world let him be that. And so, it kind of went away, and he thought, that was it. But the story has resurfaced here and there, and obviously with the baseball draft, to see if he gets drafted, it's resurfaced. So I was just kind of glancing over some stuff on it, and, I never really knew the full facts. One will never know, and who knows if he did or didn't do it. But the way the article was published before, the few articles I'd read on it and comments and things I'd read on it, it was just basically, here's a piece of crap child molester, which piece of crap and child molester definitely go hand in hand. So between the ages of 13 and 15, he molested a 4 to 6-year-old. Now, that's what was, a lot of things are crazy in it. After it was published, obviously, and everyone knew about it, and like I said, he left his team and just said he didn't want to be a distraction. His family hasn't spoke much on it, but he's always denied the allegations against him. From the time he first met the police in 2012 till today, he's never said he did it. He's never wavered. Um, you know, that's always been the case. Um, I mean, this is a kid that's just, he's done a lot of good things. I mean, if it's hard that you can't overlook that if it happened. This guy should, pretty much, I mean, even as a kid, he should pay a punishment for life. But he was homeschooled by his mom until high school. He graduated high school with a 3.75 grade average. He was a member of the Bay team. He was the star of his baseball team. And then obviously he went on to go to college. He has 5 nephews and nieces. 2 of his nephews and nieces are by his oldest brother, Josh. And so this is kind of where the story begins on this. What was interesting, though, I guess I should go back a little, is when the information was found out about Luke, the paper had got it on the Freedom of Information Act, like I was saying. One of the things that actually came out was that they said he failed to register as a sex offender, which was supposed to be a violation, but at the time he was 21, and he had actually registered every time he had moved beforehand, and at that age, it was part of his sentence that he did not need to register anymore. So that case was actually closed down, and that was the loophole. How the paper got the information about to unseal his documents is that he was being charged with not registering, and then he was found innocent of that because he was actually of the age he didn't need to register from, the conviction that he got for child molestation. So, again, back to the story. Luke was, like I said, 5 nephews and nieces, 2 by his older brother, Josh. So Josh was married for a few years to his ex-wife, who moved out of the state. Soon after the divorce, Josh was granted custody of the 2 children. The mother had visitation rights that allowed her to have the kids over my Christmas holiday and a portion of the summer. So she had very little custody of these kids. So it was the summer of 2012 that she brought up these allegations to Josh, her ex-husband, after discussion with her daughter. So Josh spoke to his dad, and then they had several talks with Luke, the picture that I'm talking about. So during each of the conversations, Luke said, I didn't do this. From about 2010 to 2012, after Josh's divorce, Luke's mom would watch his children at her home after school while he was at work, and she would have them for an hour in the morning before they went to school, and she'd pick up the kids from school and bring them home in the afternoon. So that was the only time they were actually in the house that Luke was in, because his mom was watching them. So then Josh would pick these kids up after work, and during that time is when the alleged incidents involving Luke occurred. So the mom was with the kids virtually the entire time, and she was saying she never witnessed anything, nothing involving the kids and Luke. And she was saying during most of even that period, Luke was in football, basketball, baseball. He practiced, he pretty much was never even home in the afternoon when these kids were there. And so anyway, the brother, Josh, eventually went to the police about the matter, and after interviews with the ex-wife and the daughter, 2 charges of abuse were levied against Luke. So the parents retained an attorney on Luke's behalf. Luke continued to say, I'm innocent, I never did any of this stuff. And in May of 2012, they had Luke's sexual history obtained via a clinical interview, and the sexual history polygraph was conducted. And basically, they couldn't ask him questions directly related to his niece, but it was the opinion of the polygrapher that he was truthful when he answered no to questions. Have you engaged in sexual contact with any member of your family? And it was a no. And have you engaged in sexual contact with anyone else more than 2 years younger than you? And the answer was no. So, that was him passing a polygraph. And thinking about this, he was age 16 at the time. So this is not some seasoned vet who finds a way or could find a way to get past it. This is a 16-year-old kid. So basically, the people who gave the polygraph had no doubt that he was innocent, as much as you can. but based on a professional opinion. So the attorney that the family actually hired for Luke, um, basically told him he had two choices. He could plead not guilty, but if he was found guilty, he would have a 40-week placement in a juvenile institution. Um, if he were to plead guilty, his case would be reduced to one charge of child molestation in the first degree, probation for a maximum of 2 years, and he'd agree to undergo juvenile sex offender treatment, a number of stipulations, biweekly counseling, comply with curfew restrictions approved by a probation officer, no unsupervised internet access, no contact with his niece, no contact with any child born after February 2nd, 1998, couldn't possess or consume alcohol or controlled substances except for doctor's prescriptions, register as a sex offender, and then write a letter of an apology. Um, so the parents said they thought he was innocent, but they had um, several issues. I mean, they said they were led to believe that chances were strong that if he fought the charges, he would be guilty in court. So they're saying that the court system usually favors the testimony of victims, or at least that's what this attorney told the family, and they were led to believe. So the only way to get in the 2-year probationary program was the guilty plea. If he contested the charges, the legal conclusion, wouldn't have been good. He would not have, had this chance for just a 2-year probation. He would have been incarcerated at a juvenile facility for nearly a year, causing him to miss school and baseball. And not like that should matter for the parents of baseball, but you can tell obviously they weren't the sharpest tools in the shed. And his parents were also concerned that if Luke were found guilty, that their son Josh might lose custody of his children to his ex-wife, and that the grandparents would also lose the opportunity to see their granddaughter. So collectively, they decided a guilty plea would be the best route. He could stay home, attend school, and lead a somewhat normal life. I don't know how normal it could be, provided you would be listed as a, sex offender. But and if he followed all the rules through a 5-year period, his records would be sealed. So they thought that would be the quickest way towards healing and recovery of the family. Basically the easy way out. So he pleaded in 2012 guilty to this single charge. And that was pretty much it. They've said that he's very loving. He has a very loving and supportive family who are involved in church. Luke himself has been involved in organized sports since an early age, and he has many people around him that are positive influence, no history of behavioral or emotional problems. So still, Luke totally denied all allegations against him, but accepted the plea from the prosecutor. Basically with, basically his parents were, I wouldn't say forcing him, but I mean, pretty much they were on the bandwagon for him to just get this over, to make life easier for them, and supposedly easier for him. Which, I don't think would have been the case. But anyway, so he accepted his plea deal, and, therapists, basically, they were saying Luke will need assistance coping with short and long-term consequences to himself and his family for being labeled and having to register as a sex offender. It's crazy. See, this kid has such a great history, like, of being a good student, a good person, never a problem. No violations of any condition to his probation. He stayed active in high school. He played sports. He excelled academically. Luke was cooperative and compliant with the conditions of his probation and his community safety plan. He was a model client, they said. That's it. He's actually, quote unquote, fully recovered, they say, but most of the people that have interviewed him or did whatever, think this kid was innocent. During his probationary period, he took 3 more polygraph tests in 6-month increments to determine whether he was compliant with probation rules set before him. He passed every time. he returned to court for hearing to end his probation. The probation officer reported full compliance, done everything asked of him, excellent grades, no concerns. The judge told him how proud he was of him completing the program. It's impressive how quickly he did it. Sounds like things are going well. He expects great things. Congratulated him. You know, and his court records were supposed to be sealed. He was no longer a registered sex offender. The restraining order that was on his nephews and nieces had been lifted. No restrictions on what he was able to do in life. He was able to participate fully in family activities. And that's pretty much it. It just says how every time he even talked to a counselor, how bad he felt, the impact that it had on his family, but he said he had done nothing wrong. He didn't do anything. Just amazing. Like, from the first story you heard, it was just like he was just a swine. He did this, he touched girls. And then it was, even in what he was accused of, wasn't even having sex with a girl. It was touching a girl inappropriately twice. So something there could be no evidence really for or against. And by an ex-wife who didn't even have custody of her own kids. I mean, doesn't mean she was wrong, but just a crazy case that this kid's life is pretty much, put in a bad state by. Sadly, that he will never recover. I mean, it's out there, everybody knows, people are going to look at him strangely, and one will never know whether he really was innocent or not, but, I mean, it seems like he's above and beyond anything that's asked. He gives up time, he volunteers, he does church groups before, after, and during all of this incident, so, what else can you say? That's a sad story either way. If he did it, obviously he's scum in a low life. If he didn't do it, though, think about it. Every once in a while, somebody can be falsely accused. And this kid not only lost a chance to play in a College World Series, a chance to make millions of dollars, a good reputation. I'm sure he's lost friends over this and whatnot. I mean, unbelievable. Can never be recouped. So on to the regular news of the day. IG report, We'll have to wait and see. They keep on pushing it back. Who knows what's going to come out. But, will this IG report just say the DOJ, the FBI did a bad job? Or will it lift that curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, will lift that curtain more to show, what part of the plan was? And we know that was they cheated Bernie, then they kept Hillary alive. And I don't mean health-wise alive. I mean they kept Hillary alive by her not going to jail for the crimes she committed with the illegal email server and on, the Clinton Foundation money, all the things that she could have been arrested for. They wanted to keep her valid in the race so she could win. And why was it important for her to win? Well, one, some of these crimes that we're finding out about now would have never came out. She would be found innocent, obviously. And the same old Clapper, Comey, all that trash that was there running this country, from the FBI to the DOJ to even higher parts of the government, all that trash would still be there and safe. And now obviously that the trash has been mixing the pot now, because there's new leadership, and a lot of the normal quote-unquote experts have been thrown out. You see different things. So who was the master string puller? Will the IG report name who that was? Now, I make no bones about it. We know it's Barack Obama. He can tell you he didn't know till he read it, and all the same lies he said before about every single scandal, even though he's saying there's no smidge of corruption, not even a smidgen of corruption. Lie. So, we know that he's always with the, I just learned that on TV. I found out when you guys did. The guy with the highest IQ, as I've said before. Yeah, and he just finds out when everybody else does. Obviously, he's not that intelligent then. So something's lying, and somebody's lying here. There's no way that this many corrupt people can be under you and you not know it, unless you are, one, that corrupt yourself and you were too busy swiping stuff and stealing and doing illegal things that you didn't notice all those people doing illegal things because you're too busy doing your own illegal stuff. or two, you were involved in it. Those are the only plausible answers. Even if you're stupid, even if you're broken, like a broken clock, it's right twice a day. You just would know about it. So, I'm sorry, but we'll see what the IG report does. We don't know when it's coming out. Hopefully they don't stupid Friday junk. No, it needs to be out like, boom. You put it out on Wednesday. You put it out on a Monday. We need to rip through that. The news needs to make their excuses for it, but it needs. I hopefully they've had enough time. It needs to be a good report, a thorough report. We know what crimes were. I mean, it's obvious as day. Hillary Clinton has not gone to jail for the email thing, and there are many people like just one of the guys who got out for taking a picture and it's now what he did, absolutely wrong, breach of protocol. Should he get punished? Absolutely. Put a guy in jail for a while for that, and Hillary Clinton did 2,000-3,000 times worse, more offenses, and the fact that she's supposed to be smarter and supposed to be the most qualified person to run the country, and she did that. It shows even more the fact that she should go to jail. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. We'll see what it is. So now we'll change gears a little. And I don't know if this is lightening it up or making it worse, but very interesting. There was a woman's obituary, and if you haven't read it, yes. I'm an English major. Not. Read it yet. If you haven't read it yet, her name was Kathleen Demlow. Shunk. I guess that was her pre-marital name. She was born March 19th, 1938. She was married to Joseph. No, yeah. She was born to, wow, I'm really messing this one up, to Joseph and Gertrude Shunk of Wabasso. So she married Dennis Demlow at St. Anne's in Wabasso in 1957. She had two children, Gina and Jay. So in 1962, she became pregnant by her husband's brother, Lyle, and she moved to California. She abandoned her children, Gina and Jay, who were raised by her parents. She passed away on May 31st, 2018 in Springfield, and will now face judgment. She will not be missed by Gina and Jay, and they understand that this world is a better place without her. Honesty, definitely honest. I don't have any problem with that, to be honest. I was thinking when I was first going to read this article, like the first time I'd seen it, I was thinking, there's just some things you shouldn't, don't kick a horse when it's dead, just let it go. But this is actually pretty honest and not even just with the insults or the foul language. It's pretty much straightforward, and that's just pretty much it. And it said, good luck in hell, pretty much, and we won't see you there because we're not that type of people, and that's what you deserve. And very, very, it's very funny because they're like, she made a mistake in the article. Like, she made a mistake 60 years ago, but who hasn't? Well, you make a mistake, then you do things to make up for that. For the rest of her life, she were, trying and trying, at least until these people are telling her to go F herself, to do something for them. I guess I would have some, more respect for her, but I don't really see any of that. I don't really know the story, but it's just pretty interesting obituary. I don't know if that lightened up the show or made it worse, but that was what it was, right? And this is the reality check. So we have to move on with the reality. Now, let's see, leaks, right? There's leaks constantly in this, not only Mueller investigation, but from the White House, and all things leaking of Trump looking bad, Trump saying this on a phone call, Trump eating that, Trump ordering 10 Diet Cokes, Trump having extra ice cream than you, more ice cream than you. There's a letter that Trump can pardon himself. There was Cohen going to Russia secretly, money laundering, bribes. Russia bought a place in Trump Towers. Trump ate dinner in Russia after, the Miss Universe pageant. Neither any of this stuff hasn't amounted to anything of value. Either most of the salacious ones have been lies and fraud and not even close. They're just balloons they throw out there to get people mad, and none of it's ever factual. Or there's the other stories, that are just stupid, like Trump ate dinner in Russia after the Miss Universe pageant. Yeah, and I mean, seriously, Trump put Russian dressing on a salad and threw away the bottle, so you didn't know about it. I don't know. So you just keep on hearing the leaks and lies come out. So it's just for them. They want to see if they can get another brick in a wall. It's the only reason why they do this. They know they have nothing on them. If they did, they would put it out there and be bold about it. This is just stuff they're throwing out there, trying to get another brick on that wall, put it down, and build that wall to say he's untrustworthy, he's this, he's a con artist, he cheated. I mean, there's an old saying that I believe is very true, and I know a lot of people don't think so, but what I'm saying is this is a lie unchallenged, told a few times, becomes the truth. If somebody keeps on lying over and over again and nobody is there to stop that, to contradict that, to give facts otherwise, either because they don't want to waste their time or whatever the reason is they didn't hear about it, eventually that becomes a story that somebody else tells as their truth, and another person. So lies unchallenged. So that's the one thing that Trump actually does very well, is he challenges a lot of these stories. And that's what, though, these leaks are about that you hear about. They just want to keep on throwing stuff up, throwing that brick wall, building it to make Trump seem incompetent, untrustworthy, unreelectable. And yet, you see how embarrassing it is. Like, most of these things are just stupid falsehoods. So Trump and, anybody who's any believer of truth needs to keep on just going after this fraud, because that's exactly what it is. So now let's go West Coast loser, East Coast loser. Because, man, we're eating up time quick here, and we still have the UFC preview to go over. So we got our West Coast loser. Everybody knows California owner Jerry Brown. From his dad being a loser, letting people out on the streets and closing down facilities to help people that were mentally ill, to Jerry Brown with the fake water crisis in California. All the public buildings are watering anything and everything. You can't use water. And here he is again with the water. There's floods all over California. But yet, here it is. If it doesn't rain for a week, here comes Jerry Brown. So the government of California, the communists in California, will now be monitoring the toilet flushes, shower, and laundry use. Under the new water limits, each person will get their daily water allowance. You can have one load of laundry. Yes, you can do one load of laundry. Now, I wonder if that's per person, per household. Who cares if you're working or not? I mean, do you get a little extra if you work because you have a uniform, you have more clothes? And you can take a 8-minute shower. So does that shower time start when you turn on the water? So if it's really cold, you don't get a chance. Sorry, you have to go and you're losing time if it heats up. It also covers outdoor use. So no watering your lawns, gardens, no water for anybody. So what if you need water to drink and you use the filter system, like the Brita filter, any of that stuff? Do you get punished for that because you're using more water? Soon there's going to be focus on flushes. Are you flushing too much? Did you take too many dumps in the toilet and you had to flush too much? So you have to combine dumps. You have to just not flush when you piss anymore. So they basically want to say how many gallons a person can use in their home per day. So California is fishing on water for climate change. But I thought, wasn't it that we were going to flood from climate change because all the ice was melting? Now all of a sudden, because of climate change, we need to limit our water? I'm not understanding. Maybe we should use more water so when the icebergs melt, right? Like Al Gore said, and the polar bears, or whee on the ice, then in California we can, you know, drain the waters because we're using so much. If we help out and take maybe an 80-minute shower and just spray water everywhere, and then it would be good because the water levels will be down. When the ice melts, then we won't get flooded. So I guess maybe they're trying to flood California. So the new standards is in 2022 that indoor water standard will be 55 gallons per person per day, and then that falls to 50 gallons. Um, so think about it. They say an 8-minute shower uses 17 gallons of water, a load of laundry up to 40, and the bathtub can hold up to 80 to 100 gallons. I'm not sure if I believe those numbers, but that's what I've been reading. So, I mean, if that's the case, though, think about it. If you have young kids and you put them in the bathtub, even if you double up on your kids, I mean, you're already talking about, you know, 2 kids at 80. I mean, you're almost, they can't drink any water all day. Sorry, kids. You know, drink your own. Hey, if you take a bath, you're pretty much washing yourself in your own ass water anyway. You might as well drink that water and save because you know you can get double use out of it. Boom, that's it. Just get your Brita filter in your friggin' toilet. I mean, no way, get your Brita filter in your bathtub. Drink your own ass water that's filtered, and you save water and make California happy. So if the water district doesn't comply and monitor your water report you, they can face up to a $10,000 a day fine. So obviously they're not going to have it. The ultimate goal is to make conservation a way of life in California. And the outdoor water use will also be covered in these new laws. So basically, you're done. No water slides for your kids, no water parks, I guess they might as well close down. And, you know, I mean, this is worse than when Sheryl Crow back in the day said you should use 1 square every time you went to the bathroom. I don't know. So that's your dumb West Coast story then. Now, let's shift on to the East Coast. So we don't want to discriminate. We want to hit both coasts here. So, of course, as Jerry Brown is the West, we have de Blasio in the East. Now, good old Bill, you know, Mayor de Blasio was last month that he wants to tackle the education crisis in New York City. The widespread school segregation. Now, I didn't know they had school segregation in New York City because that's weird. I used to go there all the time, and you know, the 80s and part of the 90s. I used to go to New York all the time, and I've been back a few times since, and I didn't know they had school segregation. But Mayor de Blasio is letting us know. And he announced he had a proposal that would change how students are admitted to 8 of the city's specialized high schools. Now, specialized high schools is just a code word in this article. They're not specialized high schools. These are top of the line in education high schools, meaning the best of the best. These are a group of highly sought after institutions where they gain entry based on huge test scores. So this is not a specialized high school. No, these are the top of the line schools that take the best of the best, just like the colleges in New York City do. So maybe you should talk to them about it. So they're saying that Black and Hispanic students make up 60% of public school population, but are grossly underrepresented at specialty high schools. Again, that code word, specialty high schools. So good old de Blasio said that the Black and Latino students receive just 10% of the offered seats at these schools. And it's been flat for years. So what he's saying now is that the testing to get into these schools is flawed. And it's a roadblock to justice, progress, and academic excellence. So how are they flawed? Now he says, can anyone defend this? Can anyone look in the parent of a Latino or Black child's eye and tell them their precious daughter or son has an equal chance to get in one of the city's best schools? Now, well, yeah, you can. You say this is the score you need to get in. And if you don't get it, you don't go in, just like any place. Just like when you won re-election, you won because you had the most votes. So maybe they should tell you you're not the mayor anymore because somebody else didn't get a chance. You know? And you're some white schmuck anyway, de Blasio. So what about somebody else that didn't get a chance? I mean, what is this? Just absolute, complete crap. You know, it's reverse discrimination. Who's going to be affected the most by this stuff? Think about it. Dare I say it? It'll be Asian kids because they're the top go-getters in academics that get into these schools. So how are you going to say to the Asian mom, I'm sorry, your kid worked hard, got good enough test scores to not only get into the school, but to be in the top half of the school, and they are not going because these other kids need to go because we can't tell their moms that they can't go. Oh, man, talk about a second-class citizen you're making. Yeah, that's scummy de Blasio for you. So you see scum on one side with Jerry Brown and scum on the other side with de Blasio. Two of the biggest liberal cesspools of just toilet puppy, as we can say nicely. Man, oh man. So, now that we're not even blowing through a stack of stuff here, we have to go UFC 225. And hopefully, since I last looked, nobody got arrested or threw a dolly through, the bus's window, any of that stuff. Hopefully, none of that stuff has happened, and everybody's still okay to fight. Maybe I should do a quick check and make sure. I don't know, but every time I do one of these things, either somebody's fighting, somebody gets kicked out, somebody gets in trouble, somebody gets hurt last minute, and then half of, just half of what we looked at, all the fights are changed or whatnot, who knows. Hopefully Conor McGregor's nowhere near this place. It would be nice to have a drama-free event and to get all the awesome matchups that we're supposed to get on this card. It's going to be a big card, and, it would be really good, really good. So, UFC 225, happening this weekend, Saturday, in Chicago. Now, normally we don't do prelim fights, but there was some shuffling in this card, and there's one prelim fight. It's weird, actually, the fights that are even before the prelims, kind of what they have on the UFC TV. Those fights, there's a bunch of good fights there, but we don't have all night to go through all these fights. Maybe we should do just an MMA show sometime. I don't know. I mean, you tell me. But there's one prelim fight of very interest to me. Alistair Overeem, Demolition Man, against Curtis Razor Blades. Now, Alistair Overeem, 43-16. The guy's fought in some of the highest, just most important fights in MMA. He's been involved in many of them. And Curtis Blades, up and coming, he's 9-1. We know Overeem's a good striker, but man, he's got that glass jaw in the last few years. And he gets hit good once and it changes the fight a lot of times. He's totally beaten guys. He's good on the ground. He's good when he traps you. He moves around good, but his only losses are by knockout, and he has that weak chin he's been developing. Both of these guys' last loss was to Francis Ngannou. And I think, last time when Overeem got knocked out, he comes back the next fight, and he will definitely play it safe. I think Overeem will be too much and a win by unanimous decision. Blades has a puncher's chance. He's shown some good skills, some good boxing and stuff, but I think Overeem's going to stay on the outside, just pick him apart, pick him, get Blades frustrated. He'll know when to tie up, he'll know when to stay at a distance, and he'll avoid those big shots because Overeem, when he wins a few in a row, he gets cocky, comes in there, thinks he's going to box with you, and he'll be outboxing you, 4 shots to 1, but man, you hit him with that once and that weak chin, and all of a sudden it changes the fight. From the Travis Brown fight, on and on and on. That's what's happened with Overeem. So I think he's fights smarter, as he always does when he gets that big loss, and he will come out and take care of Blades with a unanimous decision win. So So now on the main card, right? First fighter, 2-0-1 fighters, and a you know, huge audience will be for this fight. The first fight of the pay-per-view card. We have Phil Brooks, better known as CM Punk, right? This will be his second UFC fight, and Mike Jackson, his second UFC fight. Now, it's funny, Mike Jackson's talking about he's the veteran. He's way more classier, fighting-wise, he's saying, than CM Punk. And obviously, we know CM Punk's only had one other fight, didn't last very long. But both of these guys, both 0-1, and they both lost to Mickey Gall. Now, Mickey Gall is a quality opponent. He's a young kid. He's looked good. He beat down both of these guys. They both looked overmatched against Gall, especially Punk. And for Punk, it was the one thing, he needed to avoid was being taken down, and he got taken down pretty quickly. But now Punk's been training for a few years. He trains in a good camp with Duke Rufus. Will we see growth in CM Punk? Will we see a little bit more? He seemed a little bit hesitant. His first fight. A lot of people do. I mean, here's a guy that's used to scripted stuff. Yes. Was he an athlete? Yes. Are the things they do in the WWE amazing? Absolutely. I wish I was gifted as most of those athletes. But that's still scripted stuff. Now here we know it's real live fighting. And I think we will see growth in CM Punk. He seems like he wants to work hard. He's got a good quality gym behind him. Now, is that going to be enough growth to step into the UFC and show? Will it be enough to beat Mike Jackson? You don't really know much about Mike Jackson, to be honest. Maybe he's a fish for Punk to beat. I don't know. I just see this being a very sloppy fight. I don't see either guy as being somebody you're like, wow, this guy is going to move up and get a title. But I think Punk's learned some, and I think he'll be better than last time. I think he has a shot to win this by a split decision. And I mean, more of it's just on a regular pay-per-view, like, who really cares about either one of these guys? They're not going anywhere. They're not even not entertaining to watch. But I think Punk will just win, and we need him to win to, keep his dream alive, right? We got to keep the dream alive, and it's exciting. He brings excitement. It's nice to see some of these guys interchange sports and do, at least somewhat successful. Now, next fight up, we have Andre the Pitbull Arlovsky, former heavyweight champion, against Tai Tuivasa. Now, Tai likes to finish people off in the first round. Tai is 9-0. Arlovsky's 27-15. You know how Arlovsky was almost undefeated. I mean, yeah, undefeated. I don't know, like the word unstoppable. How about that? In UFC as a heavyweight at one time, he had a few-year reign, and then he lost a lot of fights. Went to other organizations, came back, and he had a decent run, and then he lost the fight, and he started another run. Just when you think his career's over, he wins his last fight. Tai does it with knees, punches, elbows, and Arlovsky just seems to always keep his career alive, and he did that with his last win. Arlovsky's smart enough to avoid, a lot of contact in that first round. And I think he will smart it out, just like I see Arlovsky playing it. Just as I see Overeem playing it safe in his fight, I see Arlovsky doing the same thing. I think he's smart enough as a veteran to know this kid's got power, this kid's excitement, this kid one day might be in a lot bigger fights, but he's still pretty green. Arlovsky's going to avoid a lot of that power the first and second round, frustrate this kid, make him reach a little bit, and then Arlovsky's going to start taking over the second part of the fight. I see Arlovsky win a unanimous decision. So, next fight, women. Holly Holmes, 11-4. Megan Anderson, 8-2. Holmes, she had a tough loss last fight to Cyborg. That's the deepest somebody's taken Cyborg in a long time. She actually had a few, very few, but a few slim moments in that fight. Megan Anderson, she was supposed to fight Cyborg, and she pulled out. So this will be her first UFC fight. The first red flag I see here is Megan Anderson hasn't fought in over a year. Um, the past few years, Megan's been a puncher. I just can't see how Megan's gonna outpunch Holly. I mean, if you know about Holly Holm, she was a multiple title boxing champ, but the most successful woman boxer, actually, probably in the history of boxing. Um, so Holly Holm has been erratic. Since she's beat Ronda Rousey, she's been erratic in her fights. Some fights you see, wow, she looks really good. And like in the Cyborg fight, even though she lost, she looked pretty good. That looked like a decent. And then the other fight, she comes out there and you're like, what are you doing? But if she, like I said, if she looks the way she did against Cyborg, she wins this going away. But if she's super cautious, like she'd been in those other fights, she'll give Megan that chance. I think Holly's going to wear Megan out. I think Holm wins unanimous decision. That's pretty much that. Now, the co-main events. Very energetic. I mean, just a charged fight we have here. We have former champion in a lower weight division, Rafael Dos Anjos, who's stepped up and just been on a tear. And you have Colby Covington, who's been on a verbal tear. I mean, he's pretty much Conor McGregor, almost amped up because, yeah, he's like almost like the replacement for Conor McGregor as far as the talk. So you have Colby Chaos Covington. He's 10-1, 5-fight winning streak. I mean, he beat Young Kim, Damian Maia. I mean, he just beat the what out of Damian Maia. And Dos Anjos is 28-9. Covington's an exceptional wrestler. College wrestler, great amounts of skill. Dos Anjos, he's used to the trash talking, obviously. He was the one slated to fight Conor McGregor, and Dos Anjos stays cool and calm. He tries to take the shots of his own sometimes, like he's still caught. You'll see Covington, I won't embarrass you, and whatnot. But he's looked incredible, and he wants to become one of the guys in the short list, to be a multiple division champion. Dos Anjos does. Dos Anjos doesn't seem impressed with Covington's wrestling at all. I guess we'll see, and he feels that he can walk right through Colby. I was actually myself surprised that Covington got this shot. I think he talked himself into it. But the one problem that Dos Anjos has had has been with bigger guys that muscle him around a bit. He tends to struggle with them. Colby's young and hungry. I think he's got a great future. I think Dos Anjos, though, he has so many tools, from stand-up to being down on the ground to submissions. So, I mean, he could be losing a fight and still win by submission. Many ways he can win, well-rounded, obviously. I think, like the Kevin Lee fight we saw, when Kevin Lee was challenging for the title. And it's just Kevin Lee had his moments. But I think, you learn a lesson. This kid can compete. He had his moments in that first round, almost won his title, Kevin Lee. But ultimately, he just took the beating, and he lost. But he'll be back one day. And I think that's the way it's going to be for Colby. He'll have his moments. He might come out strong in the first round. He might dominate that first round. Looking like a fourth round TKO, I see, for Dos Anjos. And then that'll set up his match with Tyrone Woodley, who is actually the champ who's out on injury, and this is for the interim title. So fourth round TKO for Dos Anjos. Like I said, Colby will have his moments, but I think Dos Anjos will find a way to survive, and after he settles down from the storm, he will take over with his experience and all his tools. Now, main event. This is a rematch. You have the champion, Whitaker, versus Yoel Romero. It was, 1 year ago where Whitaker defeated Romero by unanimous decision for the interim belt. There were some extreme, health issues that Whitaker has had since. He went through a staph infection that was eating his organs. I know, gross. chicken pox he got right after that, you know, some thought, man, is this guy ever going to return just because of how serious this was? So it's amazing that he got himself this healthy. Um, and then with GSP, who won the title while Whitaker was out, he let it go, obviously, due to his own health problems. Whitaker's back in action, and he's the undisputed champ. So, I mean, we know Whitaker is amazing talent. He's run through some of the best fighters. Obviously, he's beaten Romero before. But Romero's coming from an amazing, his last fight, he knocked out Luke Rockhold. So that was pretty cool. And, this is the one thing that's eluded him since he's come to UFC. It's that title. He's been close. He's beaten Chris Weeman. He's beaten Jacare. He's beaten Machida. But like I said, he couldn't get it done last time against Whitaker. So Romero is a silver medalist in wrestling, and he has that one shot power that could end the fight quick if Whitaker makes that mistake. And as you saw in the last fight, Romero had his chances against Whitaker. So, Will, is Whitaker's smart enough to try to tire out Romero. We saw that last time. He stood there, he hung in, and he tired him out and eventually made Romero gas and put him away. Whitaker's coming off a big layoff, though, and with the health problems, that could be a factor. I always, I know they say there's no ring rut or whatnot, but some guys, they see the effects, and it's different. There's nothing you can do by replicating the real fight. So I heard a lot of people say that Romero should be conservative this time and conserve. But I think that, he did that in the first fight. They're saying he should conserve more. Now, he came out the first fight, he was on fire the first round, and I think he slowed it up a bit. I think, for me, he's not going to win the cardio. He's not. Romero's shown time and time again he will start to fade as much as he paced himself out, even in a 3-round fights. You see this guy is very vulnerable in the 3rd round, even though he hits still extremely hard. Now you're talking about a 5-round fight with a guy who's been in deep and been in deep with him. So, I think for, my theory of it is the longer it goes, the worse it gets for Romero. That layoff will make Whitaker slightly a bit off. But I think if he has Whitaker on those ropes, quote unquote, he needs to go all in and finish him there. Just take it off, and if it goes on longer and that's the way you lose because your tank's not, well, that's, kind of shame on you. But I think Romero, needs to take him out and not even think about conserving energy. If he has that chance, that's the difference between the great fighters that win championships and maintain championships and these people like Anderson Silva, John Jones. When they have people on the ropes, they take them out. You saw Anderson Silva's amazing test where somebody's a little bit wild, but he just goes in, like what he did to Rich Franklin, what he did to Chris Lieben, what he did to the Sandman, what he did to Bonner, that is Forrest Griffith, what he did to those guys. He has him on the ropes, and he just puts the knockout shot on him. And that's exactly what Romero has to do if he wants this title. And I think because Whitaker will be a little bit off, because he is coming off a big layoff, I think it's a 2nd-round KO for Romero. He wins, and sooner rather than later, there will be a 3rd rematch. The tree match? I don't know if that's what you call it, but there will be a rematch between these two, and that one I could see Whitaker taking again, because Whitaker is young and hungry, and as long as he stays healthy, will be getting better each fight. But Romero is a truck. You saw the knee that he delivered on Chris Weeman. Ooh, man, that was a shot heard around the world. But that's it for the UFC 225 preview. Hopefully you guys all get to watch it. That would be great. So now I have so many things on my list, but one thing that is just crazy, and maybe I'll start it this week and go back to it next week, is Valerie Jarrett. We all know about the Roseanne tweet and all this, you know, that stuff. I'm not talking about any of that. I don't care about that. I don't care about Roseanne. I don't care if they want to fire her. That's their business, you know. Hopefully they hire the same standards for everybody else. They don't. Whatever, we know, but it's okay. But the Valerie Jarrett thing. Now everybody says she controlled the puppet string. She was the puppet master of Barack Obama. And people, oh, you're jealous, oh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But just the question remains, you know, why does she live with Barack Obama to this day? That's such an interesting question. She's got plenty of money. She's got plenty of friends. Why does she live in Obama's mansion in Washington to this day? That is an interesting question. Now, I mean, interesting. Why? Is she a sister wife? You know, I mean, I don't understand. Why would she live with Barack Obama to this day? I would love to hear people's thoughts and answers for that. I mean, even if she was, you know, Obama's handler, the presidency is over. You know, I could see if she went into Hillary Clinton's White House and she worked there. You know, here's my buddy, whatever. We helped you, you help us, all that nonsense. But why does Valerie Jarrett still live with Obama to this day? Is she working for him on what? You know, I don't understand. Even people that work for you don't actually live in your house, right? She's a grown adult with a lot of money. And, I mean, I know she's anti-American like Obama. I'll tell you that straight out. Personally, that was kind of weird with the whole Roseanne thing. I didn't even know she was black. I thought she was an Iranian who, you know, whatever. We'll let it go at that. But that's her business, whatever she wants to be. But why is it that she lives with Barack Obama? It's such an interesting question. You know, so I'll leave that one there. Maybe we relook at it next week. Maybe we can find something. Maybe yours truly can do some research. It's just a question I had to ponder. So we can go back for the last minute here, and we know CNN, fraud, the fraud news network, fake news. And if it does, I mean, how many times have they said something stupid, they know is a lie, you know, like Trump molested 3 people, and the next day, oh, we're sorry, we didn't mean to say that. Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, we read it wrong. Oh, that was somebody didn't edit this, or no, we didn't say molested, we said protested. I don't know how you heard that. It's CNN, edit this, change that, or it's say something in the middle of the day that's really horrible, and then an apology will come midnight on a Friday where everybody's drunk and nobody cares. But here's the latest, just stupid fraud from CNN. I don't even know if it's the latest, but it's just funny. So one day they put everyone should have a shot at paid family leave. And then it's a month later, they say Trump's budget to include paid family leave. So you would think, okay, they can come out and praise Trump and say everybody should have a shot at paid family leave. And now Trump's budget's going to include paid family leave. That sounds great. Or you think maybe they just don't say anything because they don't like him and he's doing something they like. They'll just shut their mouth about it and just pretend it didn't happen, or just say nothing to not agree with Trump. No, here's CNN. Next headline. A week later. How paid family leave hurts women. So we went from in less than a 2-month span, we went from everybody should have a shot at family leave to how paid family leave hurts women. And in the middle of that sandwich, you have Trump to include paid family leave. What a fraud CNN is again. But what else can we expect from the network that's only supported because they give out free, actually, not free, they actually pay airports to run their programming so they can pretend that they have viewers. That's your reality check for the week. Hopefully everybody's safe. Hopefully everybody has a good weekend and we get to watch a good UFC. And I'll be back next Tuesday with that UFC review and anything new that comes along the week. Enjoy!